What's up, everybody, and thank you for joining a special episode brought to you right on the Falcons Podcast Network. I'm Scott Bair. That's Tori McElhaney next to us. I get goosebumps just thinking about it. Jamal Anderson is with us. I need no further description.
Right. I feel like people know.
Yeah.
People know him.
Yeah,
people love him.
Heard of him. Might have a jersey.
Right.
Might.
7 or 8.
Right.
Just might.
Yeah.
And we're thrilled to be able to sit down and talk to you about, of course, there's so much about the 25th anniversary of the 1998 team.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of wanted to pull back a little bit
Right.
and talk about, your Falcons tenure and why this city really became so drawn to you.
Okay.
Over the time
Right.
that you spent here.
Yeah.
Because it was a really unique relationship between athlete and
Fan
surrounding
base.
city
Yeah.
fan base.
Yeah.
That,
Right.
it happens every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
But in the moment, it was really something special. So
Yeah.
let's just start with that, right?
Mhm.
When you started playing really well, even before 98, you started playing really well, you started getting recognized on the street, and there became this buzz. What was that experience like between you and the city?
So, I grew up, some people know my background, but, my dad worked for Muhammad Ali and Sugar Ray Leonard and Mike Tyson and Michael Jackson and Donna Summers and Diana Ross, you name them, Richard Pryor, he worked for them. So, I grew up in, this school like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
With elite type of celebrities.
Yes.
Celebrity and
Where-
react to fans. And stuff.
Exactly. I was ringside for some unbelievable fights when I was a kid. I kind of realized it, but now I definitely, realize what I was a part of. So I had seen and been a part of the celebrity fan kind of interaction, and remember Muhammad Ali just because he was so amazing. And I used to get irritated literally when we went someplace because he'd stop for everybody. And I was like, dude, really?
Should we go?
We're trying to get through the airport. And I'm just like, but it taught me a lot. And it taught me a lot. And my dad used to always be like, you just never know who you're going to meet and how you should be, this, that, and the other. So when when football, I played multiple sports growing up, but then when football became the clear runaway thing that I was clearly more talented than, my attitude, I always had an attitude adjustment towards the fan base of any team I played for. My high school team was trash. And then all of a sudden, I know we were. It's crazy.
Wow.
You can say it now.
Well, no, but I mean, I didn't play high school football my freshman and sophomore year.
Okay.
So I didn't at all. I didn't play sports, really.
I didn't know that about you.
No, I started playing again. I played football from the time I was 7 until I was 13. And then I went to I decided I wanted to be low-key Ferris Bueller.
Okay.
It's okay. Understandable.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was going through a little moment here. And the first 2 years of high school, I was like, this is not for me. And I remember one of my coaches was like, man, all of that talent you have? And I was like, I'll zone in. And my dad was like, I might be going to ground you because I think you're just going crazy for a minute. But come over here. And I was like, big man. But I got my act together. But I say all of this to say that I was at a tremendous appreciation for people who appreciated what I did. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So when that was coming up, like I said, in high school, when I got to Utah, I was a part of a tremendous culture change there, which I think originally the fan base was out. They were good, but it wasn't a lot of them. And then, by the time I left, we were in the top 10 and we had changed Utah is totally different now, So, I was the guy that they were like, oh, hey, we're doing the women's clinic. You want to speak? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is there one every week?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You know what I mean? Because I think, especially at that time, that those were just the first time those things were happening. And I saw a different engagement in our female fans. It wasn't just basketball, this, that, and the other. And I think that's one of my favorite parts about the sport now is how it's so much more open to everybody.
Right.
And it's not like, I mean, when I, early 90s or 80s, it's like the good old boys club kind of thing, and it's like a certain fan, but all of that stuff expanded. But, for me, it was like, coming here and having a unique understanding of the history of the organization. And then like when I finally got a chance to play, because I was, a 7th round pick, it was like, hey, if he makes the team, fine. If he doesn't, fine. You know what I mean? There was no expectations of me coming in here to do anything I did. So when they first saw me and then, so the first people who used to root for me to get the ball more was like the fans here, the Falcons fans. They'd be like, man, you need to get, why don't they use you more? I'd be like, email them.
Let them know.
There was like the first email of all time back then. No, but I mean, like, I'd be like, they just would be so excited about what potential I could bring to the table. And this is before the Dirty Bird. And so I was like, I don't know. I always just, and I think once you're here, and again, like, when I was here in 94 and 95, and even though I wasn't playing a lot, I was dressing and playing. But you see the ebb and flows of what's going on and the frustration when things aren't good. And then, we started off 4-2 in 94, and I wasn't playing, but I was on the team. And I remember like yesterday, because I was standing right there when Andre and Dion got into it. And we went down, I mean, it was a couple more games and we weren't 4-2 anymore. And next thing you know, it was not good. And then in 95, we went to the playoffs. So, we bounced back in 95. I'm playing more. We went to the playoffs. And then 96 was just crazy. Like one injury after another, the whole thing, the blow up with Jeff George and June. So when I say all this to say, like, the fans and like, especially you see these same faces and they're like going through this anguish, and it's like, we could be good, but we're not consistently good. We went to the playoffs and then we can't put 2 playoff seasons in a row together. So it's like you kind of are on the same page with like some deep pain, and so you connect more. And so when everything is good, it's really good because you've been through some things together.
That's really interesting.
You know what I mean?
You rode that wave just like
Listen, and there are fans that I saw out there today that I saw out on the hill in Swanee, and I'm like, holy moly, and they got their families and kids. But like, I remember those faces. And like, they would be out there in 95 or 96, the hardcores, some of the dudes who were at Fulton Stadium. When the Dome opened in 92, it was like, wow. I remember when I first went to that thing, my rookie year, they were doing like they probably don't even do it anymore, like the luncheon or whatever.
The like rookie dinner?
Well, it's like a luncheon it was at the time, but it was in the Dome. And I remember I didn't know, it was like, first of all, I thought the Dome should be for tennis.
Right.
When I went in there, I was like, man, it's like, what's wrong? I said, this is like a place where they play the U.S. Open, man. And then you remember then it was like orange and green. It was like, we don't care if you play here, Falcons, or not.
Right,
It's the Georgia Dome.
2 years before the Olympics, right? Like,
yeah.
at that point?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is a whole nother story I should tell you about. But yes. I remember I was saying about that 94 luncheons, all the fans that were there, and they were just so excited. And then, if things didn't go well, then you see the same people next year. And I was like, wow, they got some, like, you see the OG hardcore people, and it's a supportive presence that's comforting. And then, they kind of like upset with you too, but they still are out there behind, you know what I mean? And that's where, for me, we were talking about it on the podcast down there. It's like where I came up with the whole idea of the Dirty Bird, or even us doing a celebration, was about the fans. And I was like, man, we already have history here. Like, this is the home of Billy White Shoes Johnson and Primetime, 2 noted performers, not outstanding players, but they were entertainers.
Personalities.
That's entertained.
Yeah, that's why I said. And for me, I was like, it makes so much sense. We already have a history of celebrating. You know?
Yeah, I love it. Now, I actually want to go to draft night 1994, which is really, you talk about, being a 7th round pick out of Utah, and maybe the outside perspective of people not having expectations for you. But in that moment when you know you're coming to Atlanta, you're going to be a Falcon, what expectations did you have for yourself?
Well, I did not talk to anybody from the Falcons. Like not that I don't remember speaking to any, like the running back coach, anything like that.
Like through the draft process?
No, they had a scout that came that I know, that I saw him a couple times, and you kind of, right then, Utah, we were just coming up really and just doing back-to-back bowl games. So now more scouts are coming because the players are better too. So our prominence is rising. But I don't remember specifically seeing but I remember the Falcon scout really loved me, and he was like, "Oh, they don't know," because everybody wasn't necessarily catching all the games or whatever. So I remember there was a lot of conversation, and I went back for combine rechecks, and they were like, "Oh, he could go anywhere from 2 to 4," and we thought Kansas City was going to take me, and they took Donald Bennett. So I thought I was going to go in the 2nd round. So imagine this. So when the Falcons called me, I was like, "What?"
Like, what? What do you mean?
Yeah, because I'm a nerd and a football fan. Like, I was like, well, Jesse Tuggle's there, and Andre Rison's there, and I was like, who else is there?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like, start going through the list, and then it was crazy. And when I got here, Ollie Wilson was the running back coach at the time, and I remember coming in, and it was like, I wanted to be early, and it was like one of our first meetings. So I walked into the running back room.
I'm so glad you're going to tell this story. I think I know where you're going. I'm very excited.
Tell the people the story.
Yeah, so I walked into the running back room, and I'm looking, and I look on the whiteboard, and like there's all these names, and I'm like Anderson at the bottom. And I was like, oh, hell no. It was like 6 or 7 running backs, and I'm at the bottom of the list. And I was like, oh, hell no. This guy's crazy. He don't know who I am. I went to the whiteboard and grabbed a marker and drew an arrow to the top for my name to the top. And he came. So I like a couple minutes later, Ollie Wilson comes in. I'm sitting there like, he's like, what is that? I said, I planned to play. He's like, no, blockhead. That was the order in which you're a rookie. You're the youngest. I was like, oh.
It's like, it wasn't the depth chart. Oops, my bad.
I didn't know. I came in and saw my name at the bottom. I was like, man,
I think that's right.
No, I was like, nah, you got the wrong one.
I love that story.
Yeah, I was having a when you're a 7th round pick and we're running a run and shoot. There's one running back. There's not a lot of 2-back formations then. So Eric Pegram was the guy when I got here. Tony Smith was already here. He was a 1st round pick who's a specimen. And then we brought in Ironhead, and Ironhead was my mentor. Loved him, but it was like there was not time for me to get plays,
Right.
So I had to do, and I was frustrated by that, and I wasn't getting reps, and they're like, get on special teams. I'm like, I don't play. Yeah, I don't play special teams, but you got to do what you got to do to make the team. I mean, I had to play special teams. I had to be a return. I was a kick returner.
I did not know
245 pounds. I was back there with Metcalf.
That sounds like it'd be like the up bag.
No, I mean, I was basically security. Literally, I was his bodyguard. But I caught the ball, and I remember, I think we played Arizona. I had like 200 yards in returns one game.
Really?
But I was like, keep kicking it to me. I mean, 20 yards downhill, who is stopping me? I'm definitely going to get to the 30.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know why you're surprised I'm averaging 27 yards a kick. All I do is...
Oh, man. Well, it goes to kind of something that I know we've talked about before, but how a part of your game, people always talk about, you're running through people and everything like that, but what you were able to do as a receiver as well.
Yeah.
Kind of being an all-around back.
Yeah. So, what's crazy, what a lot of people don't know, I was talking about June, who did draft me. And he recognized immediately that I had good hands. And he had already said, I've been watching some film. And I didn't have a bunch of catches at Utah, but I had some catches in very tough situations where I came down like in the back of the end zone and diving out with one hand. He was like, oh. So I was like, I used to think I warmed up with the receivers. You couldn't tell me I wasn't Terrence and Tony, and I wasn't trying to drop balls. So once I got in and I was like, we kind of realized I was going to play more. I remember the spring of '96, we had passing camp for a month. So we'd come back here like May. June was like, this passing camp, you're going to work with the slots. I didn't even do running back reps.
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And so, I'm out there with Metcalf and all of those guys, and I learned all of the routes. And that year, I think I had like 57 catches or whatever. Right. And I didn't even play. I didn't start until the 7th game in '96. But he was preparing me in the off season. And he was like, I'm going to move you all over the place. That's the only reason why I tell people, man, I would have been Edgerrin James in that offense.
Right. Like had it continued. Because the stat that I pouring over stats here, but the one that I can't fathom whatsoever, and we're going to talk about, like in 1998, I'm sure, I don't know if you guys talked about this the other day, 437 touches.
Right.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's not a number that computes to people who have watched the game recently.
Not in the modern era.
So the question is, well, one, wow.
Yeah.
And two, you're going through 98. You're A-list, not only in Atlanta, but you're a national figure, but you're also having to get your body through 437 touches. And by the way, that's just in the regular season.
Right.
I'm not talking about the 3 games after that, right? So we're probably talking 500. How do you, everything's going on around you. You're blowing up.
Right.
But there's probably another side of it. You're like, you just got to keep.
You know what's crazy? So Tim Dwight is here this weekend, right? Man. So when he came in with like a staff of people. Like Tim Dwight was one of the first athletes who have like his own like nutritionist. Like he had his own massage guy. And he was like, you don't do massages, Jam? You don't do massages every week? I was like, what? Massages every week, huh? Now they have all this stuff, for the players, which is great.
It's like, no, I'm just showing up.
Well, literally, I was working out and showing up and trying to, eat right, this, that, and the other. But I started doing weekly massages. I literally started doing, it's not like I knew I was going to have that many carries.
Sure.
But the second half of 97, the way the offense was running, when I got healthy, when we started rolling, like we could all see where we were going.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like the last game of the year in 97, I think I had like 33 carries. It was one of the most physical games ever. Arizona's defense was loaded with very talented players on every level. And but I was like preparing myself already. So everything that I was doing in the off season, and then everything that I did leading up to that season, and then how focused I was on, like, I took time to take care of my body. Really, I did. And I was like, it was such a big part of it because we were absolutely crazy. We had fun in the city. We turned up in Atlanta.
Yeah.
But, I think that people, that was one thing I think another thing for fans is that they saw us and we were out and we were not untouchable,
Interesting. That's a really good word.
Yeah.
Not untouchable.
Yeah.
That it was in 98 especially, you've got these, you and Ray Buchanan and some of the stars of the team.
Yeah.
They're larger than life,
right?
But they're also like right next to you.
Yeah. Right. Like Chuck Smith and Bob or whatever, like, and Terrence. I also thought it was dope today, like when we were out there at practice today, and I think AJ Terrell was like the first one over there. And I was like, see, that's some Jamal stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the people are hot. The fans have been out here. They're sweating. Like, I'm miserable, fans. I'm hot. I'm not even
practicing. Out my face.
Yeah. But I mean, like, you see people and it's like, you go up the hill and, you try to hang out and talk and take pictures with as many people because they've taken the time. They took the time today to be like, I'm going to spend my day with these guys. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I'm going to come out here. You could be anywhere else, man, but you're out here supporting. You're out here on the hill. It's not, it's nice. It's nice out here now. Yeah. But I mean, it's still, you're taking the time to come out here. And I feel like, you know, the least we could do is make a couple people smile, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just say what's up and do a dance or two.
Definitely doing some dancing. Now, I think just to kind of like wrap everything up, you know, we obviously, the whole thing about the celebration of 25 years since that 1998 team. But as you kind of looked back on your career and, you know, you're surrounded by...
By the way, I'm a clone.
But no,
there's no way I could have played 25 years ago.
definitely not. Definitely not. The skin is glowing. No, but really, you know, you're back around the Falcons this weekend and back around some guys from that team.
Yeah.
As you're kind of sitting here reminiscing about it, what about that 98 team was so special, and why was it a part of your career that maybe, you know, you'll take with you forever?
No question about it. But you know what's crazy? If you see us, like if you were around or saw us this weekend, you could tell how close we are.
Yeah.
If you see anything or any interaction, that's just how the team was. So like, you know, Friday nights, the whole offense would get together. Then we had nights where we went to dinner with the defensive guys, or we had certain events that we went to. Everybody made a point of, like, if somebody was doing a charity event, everybody was there to support it. Or like if you didn't show up for whatever reason, there was like,
someone's calling you.
Yeah, man, because it was like, this is what it was. And everybody, you know, we were just talking about it in there when we were shooting that special in there. It was just how unselfish everybody was. And I talk about the NFC Championship in particular because statistically, it wasn't even close to my best game, but it was my best game blocking. And guess what that meant? That Chris Chandler had time.
Yep.
That I picked off people where maybe somebody was coming free. I mean, I had like 3 or 4 blocks in that game now where I was like, I'm so proud of them. I'm like, man, damn, running. I mean, because we had to do what we had to do. I was not so concerned with like, I need to be the guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I picked up 8 passes in that game too. I don't think I've caught 8 passes, you know, really though. So I'm saying it was one of those things where it's like, all right, you know, if Terrence, you know, if I'm running, then all of a sudden, here come Terrence. You know what I mean? I wasn't like, I ran us down to the end zone, let me have it. Now Terrence, on the other hand, no, I would just be the biggest joke though, because if he had a big play, like it was always an inside joke in offense. If they had a big play and they were inside the 10, I would be like, you better dive. Because if you get knocked out of bounds inside the 10, I'm first crack. And there's a strong possibility I'm the second crack too. If we inside the 5, I'm getting all 3.
All 3.
4.
Yeah.
So we always used to laugh about that. But, you know, what was so special about that team was not just the bond of the team. We had exceptional performance from multiple players on multiple levels. And in order to be that good, I mean, Chuck Smith was a monster.
Yep.
Okay, so dominant. Lester Archambault, double-digit sack. Travis Hall, Shane Durnett. I mean, the bomb squad, they came to play. Our backups on the defensive line, they were so competitive. It just made the whole group like that. And then you look at, come on, our linebackers are Jesse Tuggle. You know, Cornelius Bennett. Keith Brooking was a rookie, but he was a dog when he came in. And then in the secondary, you got Ray and Ronnie. You got Eugene Robinson and William White. It's like, man, we had our defense led the league in sacks. We led the league in turnovers. Yeah. We led the league in interceptions. Folks, I was good, but I wasn't the only one. I've been trying to remind people. I'm like, yeah, man, our offensive line was balling, and Terrence and Tony averaged 17 yards a catch, which is insane, you know? So it was just the team. It was a tremendous team.
Yeah, and it was a tremendous team. It was a tremendous moment in time for this city that I think
and this organization.
For so many people, this meant so much. And I think that's a great way to kind of wrap this up is that, yeah, like you were the face of a lot of what was happening as you guys became nationally prominent. But it was the collective that made this work.
Yes, no question.
Jamal, you've done so many interviews over the last 24 hours. We honestly appreciate you sticking around for one more. This was such an awesome podcast.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much, man.
My pleasure.
And stay tuned for more great guest stars of the 1998 team coming up. Please rate, review, subscribe to the Atlanta Falcons Podcast Network. Thank you, Jamal, and see you.
you.